Well, he had a good report. He had his checkup. Everything seems to be falling into place. So we'll just continue to go forward with it and see how he's feeling the next day.
And with Ricky Seals-Jones out, Logan Thomas on IR, what have you seen from the guys behind him this week, John Bates, Sammis Reyes?
Well, we've seen some good things. John stepped up last week, and it was really good to see. He played very well, did a lot of good things for us. I mean, he was part of that, that 19-play drive, and he was very instrumental in a lot of things that happened, blocking, route running, catching the ball. So we feel pretty good about that. Sammis has made some pretty good strides for us, and so we'll go with what we have.
Going back to Antonio, I know we talked about him earlier in the week, but on draft night, you guys had mentioned Christian McCaffrey as a comparison. Where do you feel like he is at in terms of that potential, that development?
I think he's still developing as a running back. That's probably the biggest thing. We like what he's done. We love the way he ran last week. Played very physical game, played downhill. And you notice we use him a little bit more at wide receiver, or slot, I should say. We put him outside a couple times and got him involved in the passing game. So, we're starting to feel now, you can see him coming of age and starting to develop, and we're putting a little bit more on his plate.
And does that, that CMC type role still feel possible? Is that still with his progression?
Oh, yeah. I think, again, as he grows and develops, most certainly. And I think last week kind of showed us what he's capable of. Is he there? Not even close. But, because, Christian's special. And I think Antonio's got a skill set that can match it because, again, he started as a wide receiver, but he's got that running back body.
Carolina runs a different scheme than what you guys did there. So, does anything stand out to you, the way they're using McCaffrey differently or anything with just kind of the players that you had there?
No. And again, I don't think the schemes are that much different. This is a beg, borrow, and steal league. We see something that works, and you see a certain way it works. Heck, you're gonna emulate it. And from what I see, they use them a lot like we use them. And I'm not saying he copied that specifically. I'm just saying, you have a player like Christian, you get the ball in his hands. And they showed that last week. Throwing him the ball 9 times, I think running him 16 or something like that. Whatever it was, they put the ball in his hands, and that's what you do with good players.
And Jack said yesterday he's preparing as if you guys will see both quarterbacks on Sunday.
Yes.
Just what do you think about that?
Yes. The thing that you looked at is you said, okay, what do they do with this quarterback? Okay, can they do that with him? With Cam, and that's what we've been trying to figure out. As we go through it, look at it, and say, hey, these are things that that from my experience with him that he does very, very well, and these things fit him and his skill set.
Ron, with Curtis, how did he look running to you, and how did he look?
He looked good. It's one of those things that's you're anxious, you're excited, you see him out there, and you just know that it's a matter of time. It's the progression of developing, getting comfortable again, and getting his wind under him too. And I promise you this: no matter what happens, if when and if he's out there, we will stick to that pitch count no matter what.
And then what do you need to see out of him? Because he is, if listed as questionable, is it just about a pain thing, or is there still some more things you want to see out of, whether it's
just a few more things at him? We'll see. We'll get a chance to look at him tomorrow. It was a little tough today in the wind and stuff like that.
Ron, with Shaq Thompson, he's obviously continued to develop down there. What kind of a player, when you had him, what did you see with him, and does he have a component that maybe you're kind of looking to get here eventually?
Well, he, when coming into the league, he showed a lot of versatility. He had played running back at one time, played safety, and then they had him down linebacker. He's got a tremendous skill set. He can run. He's physical at the point of attack. He's smart. He understands the game. When we first got him, he played that big nickel, that Buffalo position for us that we have Landon in. And he and Landon share a lot of the similar traits, skill sets. Good blitzer, a good headsy player. He's got a good burst. He can accelerate into contact. He's a very well-rounded player, and he developed over time. He had an opportunity. He wasn't pressed into action right away where he had to because we had Luke and Thomas. But over the years, you watch him and you see a guy that that really is a guy that's still ascending. And he's got, like I said, he's a terrific athlete, got a great skill set.
on your defensive line, there were points earlier this year when you were using 3 of your tackles simultaneously in 5 lineman sets, and obviously in part because they're some of your better linemen. Is there a world that makes sense to use 3 of them now at the same time, considering the injuries you have on end, or is that too complicated to say, put the tackle straight out at end because it's just a different skill set?
Game plan. I'm not gonna talk about game plan stuff, okay?
Well, I guess in general, then, I mean, it's easy to say they're defensive linemen.
Could we use them? Yes, we could.
I guess in terms of just tackles and ends in general, though, I mean, is that like what's that line? In a
Oh, you
general
can
sense?
most certainly move a tackled end. You can do that. But whether we're going to do it or not, I'm not going to tell you.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Okay.
Ron, I believe earlier when we talked about Curtis Samuel and you guys had him out there in the Atlanta game, you talked about having certain quality for the reps that you guys have him out there since there is the pitch count. How would you like to see him used, or what would be the most effective way for you guys to use him if he's out there on Sunday?
Well, I think part of it would be to get him out there, and when he is out there, is that, not necessarily always trying to put the ball in his hands as much as, people have to respect his athleticism and his ability. I mean, you have to go back and look at what he did last year to say, oh my gosh, this is how they can use him. I mean, last year in Carolina, they used him very effectively. If you remember against us, he ran the ball, he ran the jet sweep against us, he ran the inside zone against us, and then he ran the 9 route, then he ran some underneath routes. I mean, he's got the skill set that forces you to account for what he can do in terms of those things. And you don't necessarily have to put the ball in his hands as much as you have to pay attention to him, which means you've got to work a little extra on something like that. And that's part of the value that he brings.
The Panthers, I believe they have the 2nd overall defense right now, and they have the #1 passing defense, and I think they're tied for 2nd in sacks. What are the things that give you the most pause with this defense, just looking at them? I know you guys have faced some pretty tough defenses so far, but what is probably the thing that gives you the most pause with this defense right now?
Just their speed in which they play with. They play very fast. They get around the ball. They get around the ball in groups, and they get there in a hurry.
Going back to the tackle and end thing, we've seen guards kick out from guard to tackle. Is it harder for a defensive tackle to play end, or is it like what's the comparison there?
Not necessarily. I mean, but again, you've got to have the right guy that you move out there. That's the thing you got to be aware of. And there's times to use them too. I mean, you don't necessarily have to use them for specific things, but you can. Well, you guys want this game plan stuff down, don't you?
If you could just email us a copy.
Yeah, but that's a 3-4 in. It's more of a 4-eye than it is anything else. I mean, you can put him at a 5 or a 6 and put him over the top of the tight end, and the tackles are going to whip tight ends every day if you play him as a 6. If you play him as a 5, and that's probably the thing that really made J.J. Watt's such a dominant player, because whenever they put him out on a tackle, he crushed those guys, and because he was. And to me, was a little bit of a tweener, because he could play the 3, which is just phenomenal, but you could move him all the way down to a 1. When you can do that with a tackle or an end, whatever you want to call him, I mean, that's a pretty special guy, and that's kind of been J.J. Watt's career.
James Smith-Williams have that kind of
Oh,
versatility?
wait, I can't hear you.
Does James Smith-Williams have that kind of versatility? I mean, obviously not on that level, but like, does he have that?
Yeah, he could. I mean, and we've used James as a 6, a 5, a 9, and then we've brought him down and we used him as a 3 and a 4-eye. So he does have that type of versatility.
And just last one on Curtis. How much was he able to do today, and how much do you have to be cognizant of just the ramp up?
Well, that's what we were doing. We were trying to be very aware and just kind of see how he did, and we'll see how he feels tomorrow morning.
How do you feel?
I feel good. Got back out there running, got treatment, so I feel good today.
Brandon was talking about him hearing the collisions as you were running the line. He was like,
Oh, yeah.
that it was different. So I guess like looking back when you watched the game film, I guess how did you feel about your running performance, and did you feel that as well?
I felt good. I felt like I was hitting the hole hard. I was running hard after contact. Got the necessary yards that I needed. So I feel like it was a tough one, but we ended up coming out on top.
Learn to run harder, like in the NFL, just like as your progression, like the act of running harder.
You said,
like
how
that
do you
stuff.
learn to
Yeah,
run hard?
how do you get used to that? How do you how do you do that, like in the final drive like that?
I feel like that might just be a mindset thing. Honestly, it's nothing to learn. it's either you're going to go out there and run hard or you're not. Sometimes it could be injuries that's stopping you from it, or it could just be, something that's tweaking you from. But I feel like it's just a mindset thing. That's what it comes down to.
And did you always have that mindset, or is it something that you picked up?
Definitely, like I said, that was the best I felt since week 1, and it showed. So I finally feel like I got back to me.
You kind of just answered my question, but is this the most comfortable you felt in your role and in the scheme?
Definitely. Yeah, like I just said, I felt good. I haven't felt like that since week 1. And, I was able to put some force behind my runs, keep my feet running, and not have any problems. So, yeah.
And just being used in multiple ways, running a slant out of the slot. I mean, do you like that? Do you like being able to show like both your receiver skills and?
Definitely. Just not for the receiver, but just to help out in different ways. I feel like it just causes more confusion. The more you get me out there, the more they get confused. If JD go out there and it's like, oh, we don't know what they're doing now, or if JD's in the backfield and I'm outside, it kind of confuses them. So any way to help out.
And Tony, you talk about running hard and all that, but you also seem to do one thing that Ron talked about was lowering your shoulder more. Was that a big emphasis for you going into that game?
Definitely. I feel like that's something I wasn't able to do the past couple of weeks just because of the leg, and I was able to get behind my shoulder pads and drive my feet, and that's where those tough yards came from, and you could kind of see it on film, me driving, getting behind my pads, and making defenders feel that.
How did the shin prevent that? Like, how did that prevent that from being more of what you could do the last couple of weeks?
Like I could run, but I just couldn't put that pressure on it, and that was just something that was bothering me. So I was able to run, but other than that, I just couldn't put like any power behind it. Yeah. All good?
I'll try to talk if you can hear me.
right.
Well, for all the talk about the running back, it felt like last week, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like there was more of you at receiver, like playing more receivers just straight out than before, or was that just sort of the way some of the balls went through?
Not really. I had like 2 plays, so I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I did get more. Like those 2 plays was more than usual. So, but no, other than that, that wasn't too much of the plan. But they did put me out there a little bit more.
I guess that was one of the things with you, obviously, with your background. I kind of always thought maybe we'd see more of that, and I guess it just ball just hadn't kind of gone that way yet.
Yeah, so I mean, we got one of the best receiving backs in the league, if you ask me. So, like I said, whenever they call my name, I'm definitely willing to help out, and I do love it. But we do have one of the best receiving backs, if you ask me.
To making that sustainable, to do, running as hard as you did again, I guess, this week?
Just having the right mindset going out there. Like I said, I feel like I'm back to normal, and just going out there and repeating it. It's not much to it, really. Staying true to my tracks, trusting my eyes, and running hard, lowering my shoulders, getting behind my pads, and I feel like, with my size and speed, I'm pretty hard to tackle. So.
And you talked a couple weeks ago about learning the running back position, not just, the specifics of it, but also taking care of your body and how important that was. Is that something where when you get the bye week and you get a chance to rest, that you kind of try to play that forward and, keep that, I guess, rest all the way the rest of the season?
Definitely. Got rested up, but was in here most of the time getting treatment. So that definitely comes into play. That bye week is major.
What does it mean with all you got with all the guys from Carolina going back down there, and for Ron in particular too? Do you think?
When you spend as much time as we spent in one place, obviously, there's friends, family back there, anxious to go see and be around those people and see them again. Outside of the fact that it's a football game, so in this league we know things happen and you end up in different places, so. It's not, a grudge match or anything like that, but you obviously want to have a good showing when you go back.
But with so many people having ties to there, does it take on, even if you don't want it to be, does it maybe take on a greater significance just because it's kind of hard not to notice how many guys are from there?
Yeah, I mean, it's football. so I guess from our perspective, you know, we're with the Washington football team now, and, you know, it's always good to be able to go back and, like I said, see some of the old faces and those kind of things, and at least be familiar with the place you're going to, you know. So we can obviously relay that to our team, and you know, they have an understanding of the environment that they're going to be in. You know, but outside of that, it's, you know, it'll be a little bit of a homecoming, but, you know, we're there to do our job.
The secondary, over here to your side, the secondary, yeah,
Got the mask.
the secondary had some struggles, obviously, early in the year, but it looks like the last few weeks, things have started to head in the right direction. What do you think has just been the difference of what's gone on in the last couple of weeks?
I mean, I think we're focused, you know, and we've been kind of gradually getting better as the year's gone on, like you said. And the guys are locked in, and they're, you know, they come to work every day, and they're putting in the practice, and, you know, it's paying off.
And with regards to Cam Curl, obviously a lot was made last year of his jump just to even make the roster, then to get in the lineup, and then he becomes a big key, and he's been a pretty steady presence this year. What do you see has been the biggest key for him this year in his second year, something he's maybe improved on the most?
Well, Cam's a very smart football player, and he continues to play at a high level for us. You know, you can do a lot of things with his size and his speed and his abilities. You know, he can cover guys, and so he just continues to get better and shows us that he can play, you know, anywhere we ask him to play.
Hi, Rock. How are you doing?
Good.
Trying to piggyback off of Ben's question a little bit. The defensive line was giving a lot of kudos to the back end last week in y'all's game, and I'm just curious, what is it that you feel like was kind of helping them come together against Tampa Bay? They said that, you know, they didn't let them get some of the short passes or things of that nature. Just what were some of the things that you felt like worked best for you guys and like kind of led to this point?
I think overall as a group, we tackled a lot better. And when you do that and you come down and you don't allow yards after the catch, those type of things, I think we focused on a little bit more. And then, like I said, overall, just coming to work every day, those guys understood what we wanted to get done. They took the challenge of playing against, you know, a good quarterback and a good offense, and they executed, you know, on game day.
How do you feel like you guys can replicate that continuing the second half of the season? I think Ron mentioned the fact that tackling was a little bit tough to practice because there's so many injuries and things of that nature. So how were you guys able to kind of bring that up to par? But then also, how can you guys keep that moving forward the second in the season?
Next man up. Next man up. And I think it helps when you're practicing well and the other guys who are out there are watching practice and they're seeing it. They can relate when they get in, and when their opportunity comes, they know how to fill in, where to fit in. And the guys are all bought in. They're doing their jobs.
Quickly piggyback off of that, Landon Collins, what have you seen from him? I know that he's not like linebacker. Jack doesn't describe him that way, but like, why has he had some of the success that he's had kind of moving a little bit closer to the line? Just somebody, you've worked with him so much.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of your question.
I was just saying, why do you feel like Landon has had the success?
You know, I think Landon is he's a valuable part of what we do, and the simple fact that, you know, everyone wants to, you know, is he a linebacker, is he a DB, or the simple fact that no one knows is great for us. So he plays in the secondary. He's a safety, and his ability to, just like Cam, his ability to move around from position to position is what helps us to be very good.
For William Jackson, what kind of challenge is it for him to transition from the scheme he was in Cincinnati to the scheme you guys play in, and what sort of progress have you seen in him?
I think our progress, again, comes from practice and us understanding when we have to be good, which third downs, we have to be good. So we practice, we focus, we concentrate on being good in those situations. And just the way we practice situational football has gotten better throughout the year.
For Bobby McCain, sort of the same deal. I mean, like, what did you see kind of clicking in that Tampa game for him, and you know, what does he have to continue to do? Again,
Bobby's kind of, you know, he's kind of one of the leaders back there, and I think, you know, for him it was just actually getting his hands on the ball and actually catching it, and then, you know, when you're back there and once that happens and it clicks for you, I mean, good things happen after that. So hopefully he's on his way second half playing and making more plays on the ball.
Other than tackling and focus and third down, like you've mentioned, are there any other factors that you think have contributed toward the safety group, improving in recent weeks?
No, I mean I think that's what it is mainly. I mean those guys they get along with each other and they're starting to have a little chemistry between them back there. And like I said, you could put any one of them in any position back there and they can have success. And that's what we're doing.
What do you kind of attribute to that chemistry building now? Like, why did it start happening then, you think?
I think it's a new team. I mean, these guys, it's the first time they've worked together, really. Landon didn't play all of last year. We didn't have Bobby. So, them all coming together and gelling, it takes time. As the season goes on, you get better.
Are there any examples that stick out of seeing them work together where you can see that chemistry on the field, whether it be a play or something like that?
Well, I think the simple fact that, they did a great job with their movements against Tom Brady and, just the simple fact that they were able to, not allow him to recognize what coverages we were in. It tells me that they're working together, they're gelling.
Is it harder for guys to be on the same page when there are 3 safeties on the field rather than 2? Like, what's that balance like?
It's actually easier for them because, they have to know what the other guy's doing, and that's part of secondary gelling together is everyone being on the same page. I mean, there's only so many places you can be, and once you figure out, well, if he's there, I don't need to be. So, and then if it helps our disguises, really, because they can all be in different parts of the field.